The research station orbited the gas giant Kepler Prime in the silence of space, where three species had come together for the first time in galactic history. Dr. Emma Reynolds adjusted her environmental suit as she walked through the sterile corridors of the Joint Xenobiology Facility. The human contingent was small, just 12 researchers, compared to the 40 Villani scientists and 30 cruel delegates who had arrived 3 months earlier. Emma had spent years studying alien physiology through transmitted data, but nothing had prepared her for working alongside actual extraterrestrial beings. The Villani were graceful humanoids with elongated limbs and translucent skin that shimmered with bioluminescent patterns. Their leader, Dr. Kira, possessed an otherworldly beauty that reminded Emma of deep ocean creatures. Cruel were more imposing with their armored exoskeletons and multiple limbs that clicked rhythmically as they moved through the station corridors. Today marked the beginning of the most ambitious xenobiology project ever attempted. Each species would contribute biological samples for cross-compatibility testing. The goal was to understand how different alien physiologies might interact in emergency medical situations. Emma carried the human samples in a secured container as she made her way to Laboratory 7. The laboratory buzzed with activity as scientists from all three species prepared their equipment. Emma noticed how the Villani moved with fluid grace, while the Cruel operated with mechanical precision. She set up her workstation next to Dr. Kira, who was preparing samples of Villani cellular tissue. The first tests proceeded smoothly. Human blood samples showed no adverse reactions to Villani compounds, and Cruel secretions proved chemically inert when exposed to human tissue. Emma documented each result meticulously while observing the fascinating differences in how each species approached scientific methodology. Dr. Kira worked with an almost artistic flair, her movements resembling a dancer, as she manipulated microscopic samples. When their eyes met across the laboratory bench, Emma felt a strange connection that transcended species barriers. There was intelligence and curiosity in those large, luminous eyes that sparked something unexpected in Emma's chest. As the day progressed, Emma found herself drawn to conversations with Kira during their break periods. Despite the language barriers and cultural differences they discovered, shared passions for discovery and understanding. Kira explained through the translation device that Villani society valued emotional connections deeply, and that she felt drawn to Emma's straightforward human approach to problem solving. The breakthrough came during the second week, when they discovered that Villani saliva contained powerful enzymes that could break down complex proteins at an accelerated rate. Emma watched in fascination as Kira demonstrated how these enzymes worked naturally in Villani digestion. The implications were staggering, as these same enzymes could potentially dissolve organic matter from other species. Emma suggested they test the compatibility of these enzymes with human tissue samples. The results were sobering. Villani saliva completely broke down human cellular structures within minutes. Dr. Kira seemed distressed by this discovery, explaining that for her species, physical contact and the sharing of bodily fluids was a sign of deep affection and trust. The research took on new urgency as they realized the deadly implications. If any Villani made physical contact with humans or other species in the way that was natural to them, it could prove fatal. Emma worked alongside Kira to develop neutralizing compounds that could counteract the enzymatic effects. During long hours in the laboratory, Emma and Kira grew closer despite the biological barriers between them. They shared stories of their homeworlds and dreams for the future of interspecies cooperation. Emma found herself falling for this remarkable alien scientist who viewed the universe with such wonder and compassion. The other researchers noticed the growing bond between the two scientists. Some humans expressed concern about the appropriateness of such a relationship while several Villani seemed curious about human emotional responses. The crew remained typically stoic about interpersonal dynamics, focusing solely on the scientific implications of their discoveries. Emma began experiencing strange dreams where she imagined what it would be like to truly connect with Kira without the barriers of environmental suits and species incompatibility. She wondered if love could transcend the biological realities that kept them apart. In her dreams, they walked together through alien landscapes, sharing experiences that seemed impossible in waking life. The breakthrough came when Emma was working alone in the laboratory late one evening. She had been testing various compounds to neutralize Villani enzymes when she accidentally spilled a sample on her exposed forearm. The concentrated enzymatic solution began burning through her skin, immediately causing intense pain. Emma stumbled backward, knocking over equipment as the alien enzymes ate through her flesh. She managed to activate the emergency alarm before collapsing as the enzymatic reaction spread up her arm. The pain was unlike anything she had ever experienced as her own cellular structure began breaking down. Kira arrived first, responding to the emergency signal. She found Emma writhing on the laboratory floor with grotesque wounds covering her arm where the Villani enzymes had made contact. Without hesitation, Kira removed her environmental helmet and began administering first aid despite the risk of contaminating the sterile environment. Emma was barely conscious, but she could see the anguish in Kira's luminous eyes as the alien scientist tried desperately to help her. Kira applied neutralizing compounds to the wounds while calling for medical assistance. Her graceful hands moved with practiced efficiency as she worked to save Emma's life. The medical team arrived within minutes, but the damage was severe. Emma's arm was badly injured, and she was going into shock from the enzymatic poisoning. The human medics worked frantically to stabilize her condition, while Kira provided crucial information about the specific enzymes involved in the accident. Emma drifted in and out of consciousness as they transported her to the medical bay. She could hear Kira's voice speaking in urgent tones with the medical team. Even through her pain, Emma felt touched that this alien scientist cared so deeply about her well-being. The next few days passed in a blur of medical procedures and recovery. Emma's arm would heal, but she would always carry scars from the encounter with alien biochemistry. More importantly, the accident had demonstrated the very real dangers of interspecies contact and the need for better safety protocols. Kira visited Emma daily during her recovery, bringing flowers from the station's hydroponics garden and sharing updates on their research. Emma noticed that Kira seemed troubled by something beyond concern for her injuries. When Emma asked about it, Kira explained that she felt responsible for the accident and feared that it would end their collaboration. Emma assured Kira that the accident was not her fault and that their research was too important to abandon. They had made significant progress in understanding interspecies biochemistry and developing safety protocols for future contact. Emma emphasized that she wanted to continue working together despite the risks. As Emma recovered, she reflected on the implications of their research. The discovery of lethal enzymatic incompatibilities between species would need to be shared with the broader galactic community. It would likely slow the pace of interspecies cooperation, but it was crucial information for preventing future accidents. The research team developed comprehensive safety protocols based on their findings. All interspecies contact would require protective equipment, and neutralizing compounds would be kept readily available. Emma and Kira co-authored a paper detailing their discoveries that would be transmitted to governments and research institutions across known space. Emma's recovery progressed well, and she was soon able to return to light laboratory duties. She noticed that Kira had become more reserved in their interactions, maintaining professional distance that hadn't existed before the accident. Emma understood that Kira was protecting both of them from the dangers of growing too close. The final phase of their research focused on developing better protective technologies that would allow safe interspecies interaction. Emma threw herself into this work with renewed determination. She wanted to find a way for beings from different worlds to connect despite their biological incompatibilities. Working alongside, Kira had taught Emma that intelligence and compassion could transcend species boundaries. Even though they could never safely share the kind of physical intimacy that both species valued, they had formed a meaningful connection through their shared work and mutual respect. The project concluded successfully with comprehensive safety protocols and protective technologies that would enable future interspecies cooperation. Emma and Kira's research would be remembered as foundational work in xenobiology and interspecies relations. On the final day before the research teams departed for their home worlds, Emma and Kira stood together in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. They wore their environmental suits, as always, but Emma felt closer to Kira than she had ever felt to another being. Kira spoke through the communication system about her hope that their research would lead to greater understanding between species. Emma agreed and expressed her gratitude for the opportunity to work with such a remarkable scientist. They both knew that their paths might never cross again, but the impact of their collaboration would last forever. As the transport ships prepared to depart, Emma realized that the most important discovery of their research project had been the connection between two beings from different worlds. Despite the biological barriers that kept them apart, they had found a way to communicate understanding and even love across the vast distances between species. The research station returned to its quiet orbit around Kepler Prime as the various species departed for their home worlds. Emma carried with her the scars from her accident and the memories of working alongside Kira. She had learned that the universe was full of dangers and wonders in equal measure, and that the greatest discoveries often came from the courage to reach across the darkness between worlds. Years later, Emma would become a leading expert in interspecies safety protocols, and her work would save countless lives as the galactic community expanded. She never forgot the alien scientist who had risked everything to save her life, and had shown her that love could exist even between beings who could never safely touch. The story of Emma and Kira became legend among xenobiologists and diplomats throughout the galaxy. It demonstrated both the dangers and the possibilities of interspecies contact. Their research had prevented a tragedy that could have ended galactic cooperation before it truly began. Emma often wondered what might have been possible if the biological barriers between species had been different, but she also understood that the limitations they faced had made their connection more precious. They had found a way to bridge the gap between worlds through science, understanding, and mutual respect. The final report from the Kepler Prime Research Station concluded that interspecies cooperation was possible, but would require careful protocols and constant vigilance. Emma and Kira's work had laid the foundation for a future where beings from different worlds could work together safely while respecting the biological realities that kept them apart. In the end, Emma realized that the alien girl's bite would indeed have killed any alien, but not the human. Her species' resilience and the quick action of her alien colleague had saved her life. More importantly, their collaboration had opened the door to a future where different species could safely explore the universe together, while maintaining the respect and caution that such cooperation required.